this is Danny. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, Van Solo. I originally started this channel because after 27 years full-timing in the RV, I found that there were a lot of you out there that were just starting and had questions, and hopefully I can answer some of those for you in my videos. So today, we've been talking quite a bit about RV work camping and what those types of jobs are and where to go to get them and how to do a resume. And I've had some questions about what did I like? What did I like the best? What did I like the least? Today, I'm going to concentrate on 3 jobs that I had while work camping that were my least favorite by a long shot, and the reasons why, and maybe a cautionary tale on why you shouldn't be taking these kinds of jobs, or you should be very specific in the types of jobs that you're taking. I was naive. I took jobs that I shouldn't have, or things changed after I got there that I had no idea that was coming. 3 jobs. I'm going to end with my least favorite for a ton of reasons. So my first horrible job was in Blythe, California at an RV park. And I went there to work in their office, and there were a lot of long-term people in that park. And then they had a few sites for people that would come in and out over the winter season usually, or traveling through, going to Quartzsite or to Arizona from California. In this park, I was there, they actually paid me to be there and gave me an RV spot. The pay wasn't a lot, it was like $7 an hour or something, but it was for the hours that I worked. And I was to maintain the yard, which was just mowing around the trees up and down the driveway, and there wasn't much, but it needed to be kept clean, and taking care of the restrooms, which I thought was pretty good for pay and a site for the winter. So anyway, I get there and everything goes pretty good. I loved mowing the lawn. They had a little riding lawnmower, and I would love going out there every few days and just knocking down there were lots of weeds, but it was kind of like knocking down the weeds. The people in the park, usually people in the park that have been there a long time, they tend to think they own the park and they can tell you what to do and what not to do, and they cannot follow any rules that the management is trying to implement. And what's funny is the management will always say to you, hey, go shut that music down. It's after 10:30 or something like that. They won't do it. They want you to do it. I didn't have a problem with that, but normally they didn't listen to me anyway. But the worst part about that job was cleaning the restrooms. Now the restrooms were kind of old and they needed cleaning, and I even would go in and I took this special liquid and I put it all over the tiles and cleaned out all the grout, and I mean I had those sparkling. But every time I'd go in there were roaches that had come up through the drains. And I'll tell you, the first time I took a shower in there and there was a roach crawling up my leg, I went crazy, and I ran to the front office and I said, bugs. Anyway, and I said, well, how can we kill these roaches? And they'd say, oh, no. We pour the roaches in, we buy them in big trash cans, and we put them into the septic systems because this is an old septic system and they keep it clean. And if you got rid of them, our septic system wouldn't work. I don't know about you, but I am not into roaches. And these roaches were big. They weren't just little guys running around. These are big roaches. Because they were fed well, because they ate everything in the septic system. And, you know, I stayed for that job for the 3 months that I had contracted for. But I would never go back. And I would warn people, and you know, roaches everywhere. I was afraid of them getting into my I mean, they were everywhere. They would just come up out of the sewers and crawl all over, and it was not a good situation. And now my second worst job wasn't exactly an employee-employer type relationship. I had contracted to do laundry for the military right after the Katrina disaster. And I had put my website up because I'd worked several jobs where I was doing laundry for firefighters, for the fire contractors in their remote locations. And so when Katrina happened, I thought, well, I can go down and help out down there. So I got 2 offers. The first offer was from, I don't know if I should say their name. It's a huge worldwide company, and their initials are HB. You can figure that out. And the second offer I got was from FEMA. Now, I'd already accepted the job from HB. But when I got the one from FEMA, I thought, oh, I would really prefer to work for them. But being, again, naive, instead of taking the job I thought I should have, I took the job from the corporation. Day one, it was a disaster. Day one, I should have walked out. Here's what happened. I get my truck and my trailer full of washing machines and dryers. And they had assured me that when I got to Belle Chase, Louisiana, which is the military base there, they would build a building for me, just a tent building, for my washers and dryers so that I could do the laundry there. They said, you know, we have lots of military people here in the Seabees area, and they'll just build you a facility. Now, the weird thing about Belle Chase is it has, let me see how many, I'm going to check on my, they have the Navy, the Marines, the Air National Guard, the Army Reserve, and the Coast Guard, all based in one base. And remember, I was contracted to HB, who had a contract with the military. So I arrive. I had driven clear from Washington State to Louisiana with all my equipment and a couple of helpers. I figured I could get some pickup helpers down there, people who might be looking for work. And I get to the base and I find the HB trailer and I go in, and this contractor, the guy that's running the whole show there, he's screaming at some guy, blah, 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 blah. Can't remember, do your job, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of was taken aback a little bit, but he got out of there and I introduced myself, and the guy came right up at me like that, and he backed me up against the wall and he says, and you better not be any trouble here either. You do your job and blah, 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 and scared the bejesus out of me. I'd never been talked to like that or screamed at like that, or all I did was introduce myself and ask him where I was supposed to set up and that kind of thing. He just completely tortured me for no reason. Maybe because he was mad at the other guy. Should have walked out. That's when I should have walked out. But I'd driven all the way down there. I had people counting on me. I I really wanted to help. So the guy, he said, that guy will help you. And so this guy came out and he said, well, you can park over here and you can start getting yourself set up and we'll have them come and build you something. Well, everything was sort of disorganized, and we were in RVs, and there was no water or electricity in Louisiana at that time, but there was electricity for our RVs run by generators on the military base. We were there a few days trying to get set up, and we would go back and say, when are the guys coming to build the thing? Oh, soon. It'll be soon. Just get your stuff set up, put your tents out. We had pop-up tents where people could come in and leave their laundry, and then we would take care of it, wash it, get it back out to them. So we'd say, well, we've been on the road for weeks. We'd like to take a shower. They said, well, there's a shower in the Navy Reserve building. You can take a shower in there. It's okay. We'll let the people know. So we go in to take a shower, and they said, no, you can't take a shower here. You can go over to where the Army has their thing, and you can take a shower over there. So we go over to where the Army has their thing, and they don't like us take a shower there either. So they let us take a shower in, I don't know who was the Marines, I think, let us take showers. But after about a week or so, they said, no, you can't, you're a contractor, you can't take showers here. It was like that the entire time we were there. We were there for 6 weeks, and they shuffled us around. The head of one part of the armed forces would tell us, yes, we could do something, but when we went to do it, another part of the military would tell us, no, we couldn't. So we were always off kilter. We never really knew, can we go eat in the mess hall? Anyway, that's just the start. They never did build us a building for our machines, and they said, no, you can't do that on base. You have to go off base and take the laundry off base to do it and then bring it back. I don't know if you know anything about Louisiana or New Orleans when this happened, but when we were first driving into New Orleans, there was no power in the entire city. Everybody had been told to evacuate. There was the city, we came in probably about 5 in the evening, and the city was completely black. There was a bright red line where the sunset was, and then black clouds over the top. It looked like we were driving into hell. It was apocalyptic, and stayed that way the entire time we were there. The worst thing about the city was that the people that were left there, they didn't care. They went around smashing things and looting things, and the only laundromat that we could find, there were no laundromat. I mean, nothing was open. There was no water. There was no electricity. We did find a laundromat. It had been bashed in with like baseball bats. All the machines had been bashed up and piled up in a big pile in the center of the room, and all the coin things had been jacked out, and they'd taken the money. The nearest working laundromat we could find was in Homa, which was an hour and a half away. That's one way. So what happened was we would take in the laundry all day long. We'd start at 6 o'clock and we'd end at 3 taking in laundry. Then we would get some dinner, and then we would drive an hour and a half to Homa and do the laundry overnight in Homa, because the laundromat also had people in town that wanted to use their laundromat, so it wouldn't let us use it in the daytime anyway. So we would drive there, we would take over the entire laundromat, we would do laundry all night long. Wash it, sort it, fold it, label it with the person's name that was their laundry. And then we would drive it all the way back. We'd get back about 3 in the morning, and at 6 in the morning we'd do it again. We did this for 6 weeks, and expecting to get paid every week, as we had been told. And we kept asking for our money, and they kept saying, well, it's on the way, it's on the way, it's on the way. All the time this is coming out of our pockets, and we're having to pay the laundromat fees for all of this laundry we're doing. And the guy was letting us, do it, a lot of it on, not all of it, but a lot of it on time that we would pay him later. All our fuel, our employees, which we managed to find a few, but they were horrible. They were people that had been on the streets. They really didn't want to work, but they were getting a free meal, and lazy, and they didn't want to do anything. So there were just 3 of us trying to do all this work for thousands of people on this military base. Towards the end of the time, it got better, because some of the people were able to come back into their homes, and they actually were looking for work, and they were honest and reliable people. But still, they wanted to be paid. We never got paid from them until, let's see, when was Katrina? August, September. When was Katrina? Let me look up the date. It happened in August. We got paid in February a portion of what was owed us. And then after we were getting sued by the laundromat, we were getting we ended up like not making any money, maybe making that entire time making $1,000, working ourselves to death. And the job was supposed to be $65,000, and we ended up with $1,000. The FEMA people, remember FEMA? Remember when I had the choice to work for FEMA doing the same thing? They were getting paid every week, and they were, people were nice to them. They had a building for them to do their laundry in. They had all of that. So if your choice is HB, never work for them. They also, I was talking with the people that contracted to feed all these people. So this contract kitchen had come in to feed these people for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they used all their money. Same thing happened to them. They were not getting paid. They were not getting paid. They were not getting paid. They never got paid. Ever got paid from these guys. So when that guy screamed at me when I walked in the door, if I would have walked out that door, I would have been in much better shape. And the friends that I took down there with me to help, they didn't make, eventually I paid them, but I kind of lost that friendship. Hey, little puppy dog, that's not be barking. So bear in mind, that is not the worst job I've ever had, work camping. So hang on a second. and I'll tell you about that one. Okay, well, welcome back. Now I'm going to tell you about the very worst work camping job I had, and how you just never know what the situation's going to be. Here's my advice for this one. Check out with others on forums, work camping forums, if they've ever worked at a particular place and what they thought about it. Also, get everything in writing and be willing to leave if it's not working for you. So, my very worst job. This was down on the Texas coast. And I thought, what a wonderful way to spend the winter. I'll just go down. I have this beautiful RV park right on the beach. They wanted me to be an activity director. Actually, an assistant activity director, because they had a couple that were going to be the activity directors, and we were just there to help them. So we pull in, and they put us in this front-facing RV spot. And it's fine. You know, it's not back. We kind of like to be out of the way of everybody else and not like right up by the office. I didn't work in the office, worked back at the rec hall, which is back towards the end. So we kind of like to be close to our work, and we asked if we could move, and they said no. That's fine. It was their prerogative where to put us. The person that had hired us was retiring. She lived in the park, but we had emails back and forth with her on how this was supposed to work, what we were going to get paid. We kept the emails as proof of what was said. And we get there and it's totally different. But we thought, this is a nice place. It's okay. It was strange, though. Many of those people in that RV park were there every winter. They were there over and over. They came as groups. They were very cliquey. And there was just a weird vibe. I couldn't put my foot on it. Finger on it? Foot on it? Finger on it, I guess. That was it. Either my finger or my foot. Anyway, I couldn't put anything on it. Couldn't figure it out. Why did I feel so off? So the first thing when we get there, we go and talk to the activity directors. We go knock on their door and introduce ourselves and ask what we could do to help. And they said, well, you don't start for about 3 or 4 days. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable around the park, and we will contact you when you start next Monday or something like that. We had got there a couple of days early because we wanted to get all set up in our RV and take a look at what was going around, make ourselves familiar with the park and the duties. So we did that, and we waited for them to get in touch with us again, and they didn't. So on Monday, we go over and knock on the door and say, we're ready. What would you like us to do? And they said, well, we haven't really figured it out, but we'll let you know. And I said, well, the lady sent me a list of things that they'd like for us to do. Can we discuss that? And they said, no, we'll let you know. I felt very weird. I think they were this was their first time being an activity directors, and they were uncomfortable that I'd done it before, and they thought we were there to take their jobs or something. We weren't. We were just there to help. So we went with a group down. No, that that was the day, the Monday, that I officially started work. So I'd signed all of my paperwork, the lady in the office, and the manager lived and worked there and had for 20 years or something. She'd been there a long time. And she was weird. I just don't know how to explain it, but you'll see. That night, there was a dinner. I think maybe there was a bingo and a dinner. And they got everybody up to introduce the new activity directors and the new assistants. And so we were introduced to everyone. And there were some really nice people there we met. And then we went home. You know, we had our little bingo thing and then we went home. Next morning, before work started, I went out on the beach with a group of the people in the park to watch them release turtles into the ocean, which I thought was very cool. And I had one of those little electric scooters, and I took it 5 miles. I asked if it needed to be licensed or registered or anything. I'd gone to the office to make sure I could ride it in the park, and they said yes. I took it very slowly, about 5 miles an hour, and there was a place where people put their bikes, so I put my little scooter there, and I walked out to the beach, and we watched them release the turtles, which was really amazing. And I walked over to the activity director there and said hello because she was out watching. And she just kind of looked at me like, why are you talking to me? Okay. So we go back, and as we're going back, I get my little scooter, and they're all laughing at me and saying, oh, you couldn't even walk over here. You had to use your scooter. And I said, yeah, you know, it's fun. I'll be there in 5 minutes and you'll be there in 15. So, and I get on and I'm just slowly, because I'm on a walking path. I'm just going very slowly because I don't want to, you know, run into anybody. And I get to where the path meets the road, and the wheel in my scooter catches in a hole, and it flips me upside down onto the cement, and I break my leg in 3 places, and my kneecap is powdered. I'm immediately taken off into the hospital where they do surgery and blah, blah, blah. And then a couple days later, I'm back in a wheelchair in my RV, which is really hard to get in and out of an RV when your leg's in a cast like that. But I managed, and I had a wheelchair, and I went to the activity directors and I told them, look, I can still do my job. You know, I'm running bingo, I'm doing, you know, organizing things like that. And there's no, you know, so I'm still fine. And my husband was willing to do whatever. He was still mobile. And they said, okay. In the meantime, my husband was talking to our neighbors who were right next to us, and they'd been one of those couples that had been coming back forever and ever and ever. And this is right before, this was 2015, right before, well, the brouhaha was going on about Trump and the election in 2016. And my husband's Canadian, and he thought the whole thing was hilarious. And so he'd made some comment to him about how crazy Trump was, and he thought it was funny and blah, blah, blah. Well, these people were very political, and they immediately took a disliking to him and a disliking to me, and they started rumors about us around the park. We were untrustworthy. We were saying nasty things about people, and it was just all false. But this was August. Oh no, I'm sorry. This was right before Thanksgiving. Probably 2 weeks. And so we went ahead and did our thing. They showed us how to run they had a activity thing where you could come and pay for your activities up front. So you'd have to be down at the rec hall and take money in and that. And it wasn't much money. It's, $2 or $3 a lesson for different things. And we'd have to count the money in and out every night and all that. Well, we got accused of stealing money. We got accused of stealing food out of the back of the warehouse. The activity directors didn't want to be in the same room with us because my husband was playing a card game with some of the residents, and he had taken a chair that the other activity director wanted, and he sat in it during that game. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. There were a lot of other things that happened, but it was, and we were told by the manager, came down and said, "What's this that's going on? Why are you taking our money?" And it's like, I wasn't taking any money. In fact, the day that you're talking about, I wasn't even running that game. Well, you're not doing your job, blah, blah, blah. And I have spies everywhere, and they're telling me what's going on. You have spies everywhere. Who are you people? So we stayed in another couple of weeks, and then it just got worse and worse and worse. At Thanksgiving, they deep fried turkeys. The residents in the park and the activity director evidently got together, decided deep fry turkeys because they did it every year. Nobody told my husband. Then he got yelled at for not going to help do it. They hadn't even told him they were doing it. The activity directors were not speaking to us. I don't know why. And it was just bizarre. Anyway, so we were told we weren't doing our jobs because he didn't help with doing Thanksgiving. I helped. In my wheelchair, set all the tables, made all the centerpieces, did decorating, that kind of thing. Didn't matter. So eventually the manager called us into our office and basically fired us and said it was because they really didn't think that they thought they had overhired. They didn't really need 4 activity directors. And I said, "Oh, it's not because you're the one that told us you had spies everywhere. You're the ones that are accusing us of stealing money, and it's not because of any of this." Now, luckily, I had my phone recording in my pocket. But she said, "Oh, no, it's just, we just overhired," which is probably what they told her to say. Anyway, we had 2 days to get out. We had packed up all of our things, and we had an RV, but our car did not have a hookup, so we couldn't drive the RV and pull it. We just drove 2 vehicles normally. And I had my leg in a cast. We found an RV park on the mainland that we could go to. It was about 20 miles away. And I drove with my leg in this full cast to my hip. I drove the RV, and my husband drove the car because I couldn't even get in the car with my leg the way it was. kind of a dangerous situation. But we drove to the RV park, and there I recuperated, and they didn't pay us, and it just all turned into a big mess. We eventually, I said, you know, I was working that day. I was taking people out to the beach to see the turtle release. My medical bills should have been paid by OSHA, right? Your workman's compensation. And they said, oh, no. We're not going to turn that into OSHA. They didn't turn it into OSHA. I don't know. Maybe they had too many violations. I have no idea. They weren't going to pay us anything at all. So we eventually had to sue them for our money, our time, and all that. It took 3 years to settle that. And it was the most horrible experience, being accused of stuff you didn't do, having the rumors and the sideways glances, and the minute the people found out that my husband was anti-Trump, it just devolved from there. It was just awful. And I don't know how to tell you to beware of a situation like that, because you don't know until you get there what's going to happen. But luckily, the attorney said I had the recording, I had my emails from the original person that hired me, and they said they went back to that RV park to try to get somebody who had seen the accident happen, because it was their fault. They had taken out a post because they wanted to drive their fancy little Jeepy things on the beach, and they had some posts there to prevent anything but a bicycle from going through. Excuse me. And they hadn't filled it in, and it was just the right size to catch my wheel and flip me over. So they went out to try to get somebody to verify my story, and there must have been 25 or 30 people there at the time, and nobody would say anything because they were all afraid of that manager kicking them out. Anyway, I hope you never get into that kind of a situation. I learned a lot. Don't let it keep you from going work camping or doing work camping jobs, because there are a lot of amazing jobs out there. And maybe next time I'll tell you about my top 3 greatest work camping jobs. And until then, happy trails, happy camping, happy life. Bye-bye.